messages, and lots more.
Are you in search of a platform to give your business maximum exposure? Look no further. Come advertise with Today FM. With our unbeatable reach, we'll give your business the boost it so dearly needs. Visit us now at number 1 Today FM Drive off East West Road, Rumekini, Port Harcourt. Whatever the business is, we'll give it a voice.
Hold on, Kata. No, don't say else. Just bring 5,000 now.
Only.
Make
the Kata day. Make the code remain.
Yeah, they worry.
You were not aware you're a thief. Now that you know that your money is coming from a thief, do you not see why you're a thief?
All right, still talking about affairs of the federal government. We understand also that the federal government...
Welcome to today's edition of Beats and Pieces in the Premium Talk and News Radio.
And it's going to be 1-1 Morata. 1-0 is never good enough.
That's why we're called the voice of the people. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
This is today's hustle. One show that embodies objectivity. We raise the bar in examining the good, the bad, the sordid, everything that has to do with society.
In America, you buy a big house and you pay gradually for 30 years of your life. That is politics. In Nigeria, you carry all your salary and go and rent one room. Bad politics.
Everything that has to do with
you
society.
must negotiate. If we don't negotiate, when a man is pushed to the wall, he bounces back with double efforts. We have been pushed to the wall.
The Hustle. Every weekday from
1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
on Today 95.1 FM.
Good afternoon and welcome to another exciting edition of Today's Hustle. It is a beautiful Monday and I am pretty sure that everybody has had a sure feel of what happened from Saturday and played down through Sunday and it's still playing out till today. And by that, I mean the elections. Well, my name is Wealth Wilson, and you are welcome to Today's Hustle. On Today's Hustle, we talk about everything trending on the news, everything newsworthy. So you can call in and, air out your own opinion on everything that we get to talk about on the show. All right, so I wouldn't do this alone. I have Bolu in the house.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bolu. How was your weekend?
Good afternoon. My weekend was fine. It was, it was mixed a bit because of the elections and, stuff we're hearing from the elections like electoral violence and, generally, just the elections generally. There was the excitement. At the same time, there was that feeling of, the sadness that, why
sadness
again?
Over what?
Sadness over some, situations that happened during the elections. Like some things that happened. And has been happening for a while, to be factual, and it's still happening. So it's quite sad. But then again, I was quite excited. People turned up to the polling booths, and there's this anxiety that elections just have generally, whether it's in your state or it's in another state or it's presidential, governorship. I mean, there's this anxiety, this anxiousness.
It just comes with the elections.
Yeah, it just comes with the elections. And then the news, it's all over. And, you just want to know what's happening with your country.
All right. Still talking about the elections. In Bayelsa State, the APC has dislodged the PDP to win the governorship elections. All right. So, the candidate of the All Progressive Congress in Bayelsa, David Lyon, has emerged winner of the governorship election held on Saturday. Now, he won in 6 of the state's 8 local government areas, defeated his closest rival, that's Senator Doye Diri of the People's Democratic Party. His victory, according to him, marks a great change for the Bayelsa people. And then again, it marks the first time the PDP would lose a governorship election in the state since the nation returned to democracy in 1999, and that has been the talk of the day, not just for Bayelsa State but also Kogi State. But let's start with Bayelsa State. First off, do you think that the elections is a true reflection of the people, true reflection rather of the people's choice?
Well, I'm not a Bayelsan, yeah, but I do believe that it's a true reflection, because prior to the elections, we saw what people were saying. People didn't want, according to most people that I spoke with, they were telling me that civil servants weren't so happy with Sereke Dixon, and they didn't want anything that would come out from him.
But I mean, if he won in like 6 local government areas,
yes,
out of 8, that means
shows, the people are in. And again, Leon or Lion, as calls himself, has been his campaign was really smooth and he did things well, and he played on the fact that the PDP had some fracas within themselves, and I think that really played into the hands of the APC and into his hands as a whole.
I feel like my major question should be, do you think this is a show or a play of the people, taking responsibility for who their leaders should be? I mean, moving away from the PDP, the whole PDP mantra, and, deciding for themselves, trying to see how they can change and switch votes, and then, they want this person and they went out en masse and they voted for that person.
Well, I do think it could be that, but I also feel like it's majorly due to the fact that the PDP had problems, and some people, powerhouses within the PDP rooted for the APC. I think that's largely led to the victory of the APC in the polls, coupled with the fact that the people stood their ground and said, look, we don't want this, we want this, and they went out and voted. And kudos to the security agencies that stopped, some violence that was supposed to happen in certain local government areas. It was cool because, I mean, we saw videos of people tripping out to the streets to celebrate, really. If I were told in the last 4, 5, 8 years that the APC or another party apart from the PDP would rule Bayelsa State, I would never, ever believe that. But I mean, we're seeing it happen before.
But I feel Nigerians should adopt this trend. I mean, first of all, you see that the people voted because they voted somebody that they feel would deliver, you understand? Away from, the political party umbrella. They're not voting the PDP, they're voting the individual. So it's something that we don't usually see in the Nigerian elections, truth be told, all right? Usually what we see is a lot of people voting simply because they support the same political party or because of, personal interest and all of that. But we don't actually see people who come out to vote because they want to vote the individual bearing, the flag bearer of any political party at all.
But the point is this: now we've seen them come out to vote, at least in Bayelsa State. We've seen them come out to vote for the person that they want, and even dislodging, someone an incumbent choice. Do you understand? So it's quite refreshing to see the people, move across above party lines, above sentiment, and try to vote for another party. I mean, it's Bayelsa State we're talking about. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is from that state. Do you understand? They have strong PDP members in that state, and they still, the APC still won that election. So it's quite refreshing to see the people, not just vote based on sentiments or party or any of those, and vote for the person that they feel would move them forward. But then again, we have to be sure, and we have to make sure that our electoral system is how do I put this now? Our electoral system, just does the right thing and is adequately prepared for these elections, so that people don't always have to come out to complain after the elections and say, oh, I was rigged, the people's mandate has been stolen. Politicians, when they lose the elections, they come out to say the people's mandate has been stolen. So we have to make the electoral system, better.
Well, away from Bayelsa State, Justin, I have seen a report on the Punch newspaper that INEC just declared Governor Yahaya Bello as the winner of the just concluded elections in Kogi State. Now, a lot of people would have mixed reaction, especially when it comes to Kogi State. I mean, Bayelsa, for one, a lot of people feel that maybe the voters actually did exercise their franchise and, had their votes counted and, valid or validated, as the case may be. But a lot of people would not say same for Kogi State. A lot of people have come out during, today, a lot of complaints from different people, especially Natasha from the SDP. She's come out to ask INEC to cancel that election because of violence and issues of vote buying and every other thing that surrounds the usual Nigerian electoral system and process. And then not just that, we also saw Dino Malaye and a whole lot of PDP statesmen who came out to talk about the just concluded gubernatorial elections in Kogi State. So what's your take? Do you feel that as we say so much for Bayelsa, a lot has changed for the Bayelsa electoral process and system. Can we say the same thing for Kogi State?
For Kogi State, it's quite different because the Kogi State election was quite sketchy, I would say. There were lots of violence, even in the records. There were, irregularities. Many of those.
I just saw that four people lost their lives.
4 people have lost their lives from. Sorry, the death toll rises from 4 to 6. I'm reading this from the Punch newspaper now. And so 6 people now have died from electoral violence, and we want to come out and say that election was peaceful, free, and fair. We have to be real.
So do you feel like INEC should cancel this election? Some people feel that the people's will is finally manifesting. Others feel very indifferent.
Well, if we're talking about the people's will manifesting, then probably we won't have the incumbent governor emerge, as the governor again.
But just what if the people actually wanted him back? Remember the last time he himself and El Rufai actually knelt down before the people, trying to buy their sympathy back again. What if that worked?
Yeah, but in the Kogi elections, even if that was the case, there was too many cases. There were too many cases of violence. It was just sketchy all over. Several NGOs have called for the cancellation. Dino Melaye's Kogi West. The INEC has said it was inconclusive. Just too many dramas surrounding the Kogi State elections, and people believe that it was rigged by both parties, the APC and the PDP. And some people would say. So for me, I would say that of Kogi State, it's quite sketchy. Although, funny enough, President Muhammadu Buhari has come out to congratulate the governor-elect Yahaya Bello, and he says the victory race was well won. I'm surprised because based on how the election was, the violence and all of those, that the president is still coming out to say it was well won. Maybe some quarters actually believe the elections there was free and fair. The president describes the election and emergence of the All Progressives Congress candidate as a race well won and a victory well won. It commends the APC supporters for remaining steadfast and resolute even in the face of isolated incidences of violence. Now, that's what Femi Adesina said.
Well, that's not the same thing for Wada, who has vowed that he was going to challenge the election results. He said that this is daylight robbery and he would challenge the results. This is coming from the opposition, Musa Wada, still in Kogi State. Good afternoon, Kalada.
Good afternoon to you. Now, both of you are just speculating, because for someone who's just coming out from the elections, I first of all want to say that from a neutral perspective, I wouldn't judge the president for coming out to congratulate Yahaya Bello. Neither would I say it is the victory of the people, because whether you like it or not, if you were there during the elections, whether in Bayelsa or in Kogi State, you realize that there was not just one party who was the perpetrator of violence. Everybody was very much involved. Now, this is like, what's his name? Femi Kuti would say, politics, not big business. You would realize that, everybody is politicking, everybody is strategizing, trying to ensure that, they win the elections. Now, vote buying, Togri, all of those things were very wonderful tools in the electioneering process.
But that has always been essentially been a part of the Nigerian politics.
But when I say was an essential tool, I mean that everybody was very much involved. I'm not going to call political parties now, but yet they were very much involved in 5,000, 7,000. Yeah. And when someone comes to say the elections was mad with violence, I'm from the perspective that the person lost, and that's why the person is crying out, because, like I said, it was on both sides of the divide, and that was what we really did see during the elections, basically.
Now, Kalada, you were there first and you saw these things happen. Now, we have not really heard reports of vote buying, but now you're telling us that you saw both parties, lobby for that.
I
haven't heard any reports of vote buying from any of the newspapers or the dailies.
No, you should read well. You see that.
But you were there first time.
No, even on the newspapers,
to contradict that, one of the INEC officials said that he was offered 50,000 naira to compromise the
it's all over the
election.
newspapers. You need to check. It's all over. Even some NGO came out and said that the elections were marred by vote buying and violence. Now, I sympathize with the families who lost their loved ones during the Kogi State elections, but I kind of think that it's not just one party thing, because I don't believe. I was somewhere where I got to hear stakeholders talk from both sides of the divide, by the way, and you would realize that they know each other. They're all friends. What divides them is their political interest. They all know each other. They're all friends. And they know. See, they know. How do I put it now? They know what. Okay, for example, I am an incumbent governor. My friend who is trying to vie for the same position as my position knows what I would do to get into position. So they know all of the tricks, and they try to outweigh each other. They try to overtake each other, and that's what you see in an electioneering process. And like I said, I saw it firsthand. I'm not going to go into details. I'm not going to call names because I got a lot of names, but definitely there was. But then again, judging by what we've had in the past, it was relatively peaceful, I must say. Even with Kogi State, it was relatively peaceful, I must say.
Oh, well, that's from you, but from SIRAP, that's the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project at SIRAP. They have come out to call on the ICC, that's the International Criminal Court, to investigate the persistent crimes of corruption, violence, and killings during elections in Nigeria. Most recently, the Bayelsa and Kogi states, particularly the involvement of the All Progressive Party, that's the APC, and the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. Now, SIRAP also urged the court to probe whether the repeated failure of the Nigerian authorities to address the crimes amounts to violence against Nigerians and crimes against humanity within the jurisdiction of the ICC. Well, in the petition by the Deputy Director of SIRAP, Kolewole Olawadare, he said that the APC and the PDP have been principal players in perpetrating crimes against Nigeria. Hence, there is a need to, investigate and probe these parties. Which, of course, is not news. I mean, as you had already mentioned, both of these parties, had major hands, especially when it comes to thuggery.
I did not mention. I said parties. I did, but then again, I think I agree with Sarah, and I'm of the opinion that we need to revisit our electoral process and probably, have these two parties, sit on the sidelines for a while, because yes, they are to a large extent the people who perpetrate this violence.
But do we need an international community to teach our political parties, fair play when it comes to elections?
Let's go back to the general elections, even in Kogi State. Now, the number of fatalities or number of dead people during the elections was very much high. Let's be frank with ourselves. When I say relatively peaceful, I know now you can count, like even in what's the name of the place now, Bayelsa State, you can count the number of communities where we had violence. I definitely can count. Now, if you're talking about local governments, we had about 2-3 local government areas where we had violence. 2-3, and relatively, because here decade, the people are denying. So 2-3 local government areas where I can say that I had information and that there was violence. And basically, out of 8 local government areas, we had just 2 or 3 where there was violence. So think about it. And no lives were lost in Bayelsa State. I stand to be corrected. No lives were lost. So basically, like I said, in those 2 local government areas, it had to do with ballot boxes being hijacked and voting. I'm not gonna vote for that kind of attitude. But basically, like I said, okay, maybe one of the local government where I was there, I think I witnessed it, but it had to do with hey, you're bringing money, and this was bringing money, and there was an argument, and there was a little bit of scuffle, and every other person, basically, like I said, relatively peaceful.
Yeah, but like there were cases where INEC couldn't deliver electoral materials to some local government areas because of flooding. So how well do you think?
Now, I do not think that was the case. To the best of my knowledge, I do not think. Now, flooding was a challenge, but I don't think INEC people were not able to get there. Now, the election materials were sent the night before. So you saying flood. Now, what really affected, according to the head of department, voter education and publicity in the Bayelsa State, he said that because of the flood, now certain polling units could not have voting occurring in those areas. So they had to move it to other places. Now, where they moved it to was then the bone of contention, not that flood actually, stopped
from moving
that, to the best of my knowledge, like I said.
In other situations, we had that, INEC was ready, and then the security operatives supposed that were meant to move these electoral materials.
Yeah, there were
not
cases
ready.
cases like that, yeah.
So what does that? Does that speak well of the INEC?
It had nothing to do with INEC. It had nothing to do with INEC.
But that's the point.
No, it had see, that's I think we had this argument before. Now, and I said security of electoral or of the electoral process has nothing to do with INEC. INEC's job is to ensure that we have elections. Now, the security of that process, like every other process in society, is the work of the police and every other security agency. Now, there is I'm cutting. There is that's why we have interagency collaboration. Now, if there is, and I was there, some other journalists in Bayelsa was posing a question to an INEC official, and he said it's not in his place to answer that. It's the commissioner of police or probably a DIG who's going to tell why they, and after all, or by the way, whichever is the correct phrase, INEC cannot move those materials without the presence of security officers, and that's standard.
And that's where I have a problem. Shouldn't they work as one? I was listening to Emmanuel Ndukwe in the morning, and he was saying you can't have a two-faced man. INEC right now seems like we have the INEC, and then we have the security agencies and other agencies that work with the INEC.
That is what it is. That is what it is.
I feel like they should work as one, and if they don't work as one, we wouldn't have free and fair elections. I mean, INEC doing their own thing and the security operatives doing another thing.
No,
and,
basically, the security operatives are just there to man the
exactly
situation.
The point. Exactly.
All right, they're
the
not
point.
supposed to infringe on every other thing that concerns
exactly the point.
INEC. Because if that happens, it then means that there must have been some sort of intimidation on an independent
Thank
body.
you very much. And so INEC is given this. So according to law, by 8 o'clock, voting should have started. So whoever was the policeman who was supposed to be guarding that place or guarding those materials should know that by so time I should be on duty. So you don't blame INEC for a police officer.
No. I'm not blaming INEC. I'm not blaming INEC now. I'm saying shouldn't they work as one? I'm not saying.
But they were working as one, but they are still two different agencies. You need to put that into play.
Yeah, they are two different agencies, but they should work together for the purpose of one goal. Do you understand? You can have the INEC trying their best, and then security operatives who are supposed to be with the INEC, to work with the INEC, now slowing them down or doing stuff that would. It's.
But then again, like I said, you shouldn't be calling INEC in this. It's strict. I understand it should be one, but then again, the process in that case was failed by the police and not INEC. I mean, you shouldn't be calling INEC. INEC did their job. They made the materials available.
Like I said, INEC did substantially. They did well substantially.
Let me ask you a question. If the CBN is supposed to move money from point A to point B, and because they are supposed to move money, they would also need security agencies, right? And now security agencies are not there to move the money, and the money is missing. Who do you think the government will blame? Do you think they will blame the CBN, or they will blame the police for not being there to man the situation? That's the point. That's where
they
I'm
will
coming
blame
from.
the police, but now the point is, I'm not blaming INEC. I'm talking about the whole electoral process now as a whole, because the electoral process involves the INEC, also involves these security agencies that we have, and these security agencies are supposed to work with INEC. So if we don't have, if that is not the case, then we have a flawed electoral process.
And like I said, you don't ask me, you don't ask INEC, you ask the police, and that's what I said from the very start.
Away from INEC, away from the elections and everything, there are other issues trending. There are other issues making around in newspapers as well. Well, first off, let's look at this one from the Vanguard that says about a certain girl. All right, why I want to talk about this story is because of the Child Act law or whatever. The laws that govern children, that protects children in the country. All right, we've seen cases of children who've been molested. We've seen cases, especially this one now, especially by their parents or especially by people who are, called upon to, guide them, their guidance and all of that. Well, from the Vanguard newspaper, I saw this particular story that says, my dad demands sex before paying my school fees. Now, this is coming from a girl who is about 20 years old. She says that while narrating to the policeman, said that her father started having sex with her when she was 13 years old, and that he would demand to sleep with her before paying for her school fees. Now, her father is the presiding pastor of Mount Zion Lighthouse Full Gospel Church, Obimo Lane, Uyo, and his name is Apostle Williams Okombasi, and he's been arrested by operatives of the Akwa Ibom State Police Command. Now, my question is, now, this has been happening continually, say for over 7 years, all right? Now, usually, I would expect that there should be some sort of body or agency that protects children, to the point where if you have kids who've been molested, they can actually run down there to seek a redress in whatever, crime has been meted against them, especially by people that they regard as guardian or as, family, basically. So I'm wondering, what exactly are we, what exactly is making or causing the lack of unawareness, especially amongst teenagers, amongst youth, about agencies or, government bodies that they can actually turn to, especially when they have been, defiled or molested by people who are supposed to guide them?
Well, first of all, I want to believe that we have such agencies in Nigeria, and we even
but how
have other
functional are they? Because
agencies.
over the years, we've been having issues like this over and over and over and over.
Now, I think that depends on the individuals affected. I mean, both the parents and both the guardians and the child who was molested or who was, whatever happened. I mean, like, most times these children are scared. They don't want to talk. They are scared probably because they've been threatened by their guardians and all that. So,
but don't you think that with a country with this much population, right, and about 50% of it making the youth and teenagers and everything, don't you think that we should probably even take note about what goes on around the lives of these youth and teenagers in the country from the federal government?
Yes, sure, definitely. I feel like we should know, and we should even put more focus on, the children and what goes on with them, especially when they are with people who are supposed to be their guardians and all that, because lots of this stuff happen. I mean, we listen to the news every day, we read the papers, we see lots of these things happen, and most of the time, the children, the teenagers or the children are not educated enough to know these things. I think probably we also need to educate and orientate Nigerians on what is right, what is domestic violence, what is molestation, and what is not. Because sometimes these guardians feel like they're within their rights to do certain things. I mean, this is a very, very sad one that you just raised up here, and I hope it is dealt with properly.
Well, hopefully that is dealt with properly. Kalada, you have anything to say about this?
Actually, now I feel this. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to the normal cliche of the government hasn't done enough, because I actually feel it comes back to the policies and the laws that we have in Nigeria. Because basically, there are no laws concerning protection of children, and even if there are extant laws, I feel they are not good enough, because this is not the first time we're hearing about child abuse from a parent or from someone who's, what I call them, pedophiles, because a 13-year-old is not an adult yet. He's not someone who should be having sex yet. And so a lot of these people are there, and then sometimes when we have parents going out there to report, when we have parents going out there to say my child was molested or abused by this individual, nobody gets to do anything. Sometimes these parents are threatened. I've had so many incidents. I've had so many stories, even here in River State. Sometimes these parents are threatened. At other times, the police is okay. I wouldn't accuse the police because I don't have evidence. But sometimes these relevant authorities are given monies and bribe, and nothing comes out from the investigation. And so these things begin to reoccur because we don't have policies to cover. For example, if you're going to go into Togri, know the price. You know that, see, I'm going to give my 1 day. I mean, these boys, they know. If you're going to go into armed robbery, you'd know that someday the law will catch up with you. But these people who do this abuse they always feel like they can get away with it. I saw one time on one of the newspapers where a family was in court because of child abuse, and it was the parents of the child who were asking for the court to allow the what's it called now, the perpetrator go free. And when asked, he said it's a family matter that they will solve it by themselves. So yes, yet again, I think we don't have enough laws to help tackle. I mean, look at this now. A father whose right or responsibility is to take care of his child is saying that he has to sleep with his child first before he pays their school fees. It's crazy. It's out of this world.
All right, so looking at the time now, we pretty much do not have enough time to discuss further. So we'll just open the phone lines. We've been talking about the elections in Bayelsa State and in Kogi State. We've been talking about the people's mandate, have the people actually exercised their franchise? Can they confidently say that whatever results are being issued out by INEC, fair enough to reflect their desires as to who they want to govern them? And then we're also talking about the child protection laws in Nigeria. How well or how aware are these kids that they actually can report molesters to appropriate authorities? And are these authorities, proactive to make sure that these kids are also safe and secure? Yes, that's what we have been talking about all day. All right, so I'm going to open the phone lines. You can call us and also send a WhatsApp message. The numbers are 0817 0000951, 0810 9510951, and you can send a WhatsApp message to 0701 9339 962. It is Today 95.1 FM, and this is today's hustle. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Your name and where you're calling from?
This is from Port Harcourt.
All right, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Actually, despite the fact of the rigging and all the rest of them, moving from a layman's understanding, the man who is already seated in the Senate, resigning the one he has already to come back and contest again. If you allow people to go out there choices without being compared by electoral fraud, maybe impersonation, one or two kinds and other. Ordinarily, a man walking on the street, you'll be looking at the man. What else again would you want to offer that the Senate can give to you? Even from the senatorial seat you're sitting, if you want to actually empower your people or do one or two things, despite that you still have limitations, but at least you still have more to contribute in the state and other. So must it be when you contest as a governor? Don't they have other persons who are just party faithfuls who have also contributed one way or the other that can be able to mount that governorship seat and other? So you just want to hijack everything to yourself. Ordinarily, from a layman's understanding, if despite the rigging thing that is being involved or whatever, I think Bayelsa has really decided what they did there. That's how. So I think let's congratulate the man. That's what will happen.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for calling in there. He said that, having to do your job as, a leader, first off in the Senate and then wanting to be a governor.
The PDP candidate for the Bayelsa governorship election was, or is, still a senator. He's still a sitting senator. And according to rumors, the governor picked him up because they wanted him to, come be governor. I mean, they wanted to do a switch. So, the senator becomes governor and then the governor becomes the senator representing that very constituency. So that was according to what's on the streets, that was the idea. So, if the senator becomes governor, then there would have to be a by-election for who becomes the next senator, in that vacant spot. And then what will happen will be that the governor becomes that senator.
But then it then means that in all of this, the people, I didn't hear the people mentioned in all of this. I mean, it's almost like politics is like a family business, or actually, it's like an empowering thing.
Actually, that is why the people kicked. I mean, there's been this question bothering, lingering in my mind. I would say, and it's been the fact that this victory, is it actually the people who wanted the victory, or is it the fact that the politicians were all kicking against the governor in power? Because then again, the people wanted a change, and then the politicians also wanted a change.
So they offered a change.
Exactly. So whose change was it really?
Okay.
That's the question I've been trying to ask and answer.
Oh, okay. We lost this call. Do well to call us back.
But I don't understand what Kalada is saying, and I think I agree with him on that one. Like I said earlier, the APC won largely due to the fact that there were, problems within the PDP. Some members of the PDP, some strong, men within the PDP wanted a change. They didn't want, the candidacy of they didn't want the candidates of Sarah K. Dixon. The people, on the other hand, also wanted a change from Sarah K. Dixon, and so we just played into their hands.
Did they play into their hands, or they basically saw that this person can actually deliver?
No. Like I said, I happened to be in some kind of stakeholders meeting where there was the PDP, there was the APC, and bad like that, yeah. And in that meeting, we got there was nothing like affiliation. Okay, anyways, we're done with the call. 95.1 FM. Yeah.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah,
good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yes. Kambolu and Canada. My name is Amusi Chima.
Chima, just 3 days. 3 days and you've forgotten my name already. Just 3 days.
Good afternoon, Chima.
Kalada.
Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Well, just as he said, the mandates of the people have been stolen by the politicians. Are you hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the mandates of the people have been stolen by politicians, both parties, either PDP or APC. They have stolen the people's mandate. You understand? You see, one thing that kept me thinking, what is wrong? There is something fundamentally wrong with our leaders. Why wouldn't you make our electoral system workable, whereby I, Chima, can be comfortably wherever I am to cast my vote without necessarily going through snatching of ballot papers, catering away of ballot boxes? Actually, it's going to come it up. You understand?
Okay.
So most of them know that they cannot win election if the electoral system is workable. So that is why they cannot make it work. So the mandate of the people have been stolen, not for any political party, the both parties, because I believe neither APC or PDP cannot explicate themselves from rigging of election in Nigeria. So it will continue like that.
So you don't feel that the people in Bayelsa State especially came out to vote purposefully David Lyon because they wanted him?
Yes, people cannot. How many people voted? There are so many contingencies on both the parties. Yesterday I was watching on the live when they were collecting the results. I think on the where PDP won, local government. I can't remember the government now. There was some pockets of agents of the APC still complaining that there are some places where election did not hold, and the results came out. So how do we reconcile that? You understand? So our electoral system must be workable so that Nigerians can cast their vote and choose whoever that become their leader. Thank you very much.
All right. Hopefully, the electoral system is signed into law. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah,
good afternoon.
I just I called to laugh.
Lawson.
Good afternoon, Lawson.
I called, see, let me tell you, Chima is not even in the Yenegua. Even the people, he forgets that they listen to what's his name, gift from the Yenegua. He used to call, and at some point he changed and all that. I can tell you that, you understand, it was a change the people wanted. You need to come to Yenegua and see the people. Whether PDPO, APCO, ABGAO, whoever, everybody wanted this change.
But
it's not even a joking matter.
What he's saying, yes. Okay, listen. What he is saying, yes, is that the people actually wanted change. And then the political statesmen, the big hands in PDP also wanted change because of the play going on in the PDP. So the APC propagated, possibly gave them a solution that they took advantage of. All right. So now it is the APC who has given the people the change away from what they wanted. So it's not like the candidate exactly may have won if there was not an unrest in PDP.
See, it's about the candidate. It's about that man, David Leon. You understand? If people voted across party line, that's why APC won. It's not even a matter of. I am telling you that people voted across party line. They didn't look at party. Look at the individual. They felt, in fact, it reminds me of when Jonathan was coming in 2011. A lot of people felt, yes, then when I think the president was coming in 2015, it is the man, David Leon. Forget about party. Because everybody, PDP, APC, ABGA, everybody voted David Leon. That's why APC won. If not, it is not easy to beat Serate in an election. It has never happened. It's because Bayelsans were unanimous, united, and said, that man, David Leon, come and deliver Bayelsa. That's just it. So this very victory is a victory, the people's victory. It's not APC victory, not PDP victory, not any political party victory, but the man, David Leon. If Lokobri, I can tell you, if Lokobri had come, you understand, PDP would have won. You could see that in his place, onto his ward, his local government, Ekeremu, PDP took everything. So, you understand, when you can't win election, even in your ward, and you begin to come and behave as if you are popular, it's funny.
Okay,
he could not win in Ekeremu onto his ward. So, it's the people's victory, and it demands David Leon,
all right.
APC.
Thank you very much, Lawson. Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon. Okay, we lost that caller too. Do also call us back. The numbers are still open. 0817 0000 951 0810 9510 951. And don't forget, you can send your WhatsApp message to 0709 9339962. We're still talking about the Bayelsa State and Kogi State election. Basically, do you feel that the people's mandate is what is playing out in Bayelsa State and Kogi State? Let's not forget that Kogi State is also part of the whole thing. I mean, and then let's also talk about the case of Dino Malaye and, his rejection with the elections bordering on the senatorial. Okay, let's take this call first off before we continue with Dino Malaye. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Well, I'm Canada.
Good afternoon to you.
Yes. Okwando Edinite.
All right, you're welcome, Okwando.
Yes. I think it's not right for us to say that our system or our law has get her.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, go on now.
Yes, for the man that was busy breaking charge just because of the pay school, I think in the Nigerian law it is an offense. But just like
okay, do well to call us back. All right, thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm calling from Owele.
Go ahead, Emeka.
When I had the result of this election this morning, my mind just reflected back to 2015. I just want to believe that. Well, I don't think we are serious yet, because I don't know how. My brother, just look at what the scenario I want to paint now. Since 2015 till today, all the election from those states, which was Shomole was incumbent, was won by APC. On those states, there was PDP incumbent, was won by APC. Ekiti State that was PDP was won by APC. Osun State that was APC was won by APC. Bayelsa now that was owned by APC. PDP is won by APC. Kogi was won by APC.
So what are you trying to say?
What
are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is, if not because of the staggered election of 2019, a state like Rivers and Bauchi and the other states would have won by APC. You see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is this. It doesn't mean that the APC, the government of APC since 2015, most of Nigerians, we are enjoying it too much that we are popular that every election since 2015 now.
Okay, I think if I get what you're saying, you're trying to talk about how credible APC has been so far. But then if they've been winning and the PDP has not been able to prove that they've not won, it then means that it's the people's mandate, isn't it? Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, West Bolu and Kalada.
Good afternoon to you.
Mascot from Port Harcourt.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Honestly, like I said last time, there was no election in these two states. The only solution we have now is to revamp our electoral process. The electoral process has been hijacked by these our political leaders. What we have now, these politicians, they deploy Gestapo and guerrilla tactics. They deploy Gestapo and guerrilla strategy to deny the people of their sacred right of choosing who their leader will be. So for me, what happened in Bayelsa and what happened in Kogi is nothing but kangaroo, a charade. So we need a system, like West talked about, a system where we will go and vote, and our vote we can, and that system is for Mr. President to sign the Electoral Act, so that the people will vote and know whom they voted for, and there will be electronic transmission of results, so that we will be able to enjoy the dividends of democracy. Because the power with which we can enjoy the dividends of democracy is our power to elect the leaders that we need. For now, we are not here there. We are laughing stock of the international community. That is my own take this afternoon. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
All right, and God bless you too. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hello, the line went off.
Yeah. Thank you for calling. Good afternoon.
So what I was saying is, I think we need to two options. The last caller said almost what I wanted to say. He said that we do this e-voting system. I agree on it. Or we'll go back to option A4. We'll go back to option A4. What is happening now is not this is election. This is when people say we're in democracy. I said we are just in civilian government. This is not democracy. How can you tell me that the election of about 7 or 8 elections in the last 20 years now, the particular party is just winning? I can tell me the election. Is it like the other party are not human beings there? They're not better candidates there.
But then the APC has emerged winners, and then there's been nothing to prove that they actually did not win. So how do you expect the opposition party to come into seats? Hello? Okay, do well to call me back again. We also lost that one. The phone lines are still open. We can take one more call, or we can't because of the news update at 2. This is still Today 95.1 FM, and we are still on today's hustle. After the news update at 2, we'll be back with the second half of today's hustle. Since today is all about the elections, and that is what we're still going to be talking about, but from a different angle and perspective. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. News update.
Good afternoon, and here's the news update at 2 on Today 95.1 FM. I am Wealth Wilson. The President Muhammadu Buhari has enjoined Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State to imbibe the spirit of magnanimity in a victory by extending a hand of partnership to opposition candidates. President Buhari, in his congratulatory message to Governor Bello on his re-election to government, urged those dissatisfied with the outcome of the election to approach the courts. President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Bayelsa State Governor-elect David Lyon saying that his victory at Saturday's poll was impressive. Presidential spokesman Femi Adesina, in a statement, said President Muhammadu Buhari also commends the APC supporters in particular and Nigerians in general in the state who exercised their civic rights in a peaceful manner, notwithstanding the pockets of unrest recorded in some locations. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has declared the Kogi West senatorial rerun election inconclusive. The returning officer, Professor Olayinde Lawal, said the margin between the candidates of the All Progressive Congress, Smart Adeyemi, and that of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Dino Malaye, is 20,000 votes. Professor Lawal announced that Adeyemi pulled a total of 80,000 votes, while Senator Malaye got 59,000 votes from the 7 local government areas in the senatorial district. He added that INEC will announce a new date for the conduct of a supplementary election in the 53 polling units before a winner can be returned. Advocacy group, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SIRAP, has called on the International Criminal Court to probe officials of the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party over the recorded violence in the just concluded elections in Kogi and Bayelsa State. SIRAP disclosed this in a petition signed by its Deputy Director, Kolawale Oluwadare, in the letter addressed to Fatu Bensauda, a prosecutor in the ICC. The petition sought to push for those suspected to be responsible for these crimes, mostly security officials, officials of the 2 main political parties, APC and the PDP, and other actors who contributed to the corruption, violence, and killings during the elections in Bayelsa and Kogi states, and were therefore complicit in the crimes to be tried by the ICC. On the foreign scene, Iran has slammed the U.S. show of support for rioters after violent protests sparked by a decision to impose petrol price hike and rationing the sanctioned heights countries. Major roads have been blocked, banks touched, and public buildings attacked in the nationwide unrest that has left at least 2 dead, a civilian and a policeman. Footage of the violence showing masked young men and debris-strewn streets setting buildings ablaze have been aired on state television, which rarely shows any signs of dissent in the country. Demonstrations broke out on Friday after it was announced that the price of petrol would be raised by 50% for the first 60 liters and 200% for any extra fuel after that each month. The authorities in the Islamic Republic say they have arrested more than 200 people and restricted internet access, but the United States on Sunday condemned Iran for using lethal force against demonstrators. Now on entertainment, popular comedian Ayo Makun, also known as AY, has called on young entertainers to discover and develop their craft. AY gave the advice while speaking with our correspondent at an event in Port Harcourt. He said upcoming entertainers should take advantage of the global recognition of Nigerian entertainment industry.
Nigeria on the map of the world. You know, today you get to find out that Davido is doing something, selling out the O2 Arena where you have about 12 to 20,000 capacity. You have Whiskey doing what he knows how to do best. You even have the likes of AY going about doing their films, collaborating with even some foreign actors and what have you. It's just an indication of the fact that we are a step in the right direction, moving the nation forward. And as a matter of fact, it can be better. I always tell people, believe in your talent. You never can tell when it's going to put food on your table. Because the way Nigeria is going now, everybody needs to, you need to know how to do something, not necessarily in entertainment, in any craft at all that you are good at. Just be consistent, and before you know it, you'll just find yourself there.
And that's a wrap on the news at 2. Today's update comes up next.
Today's news, today's entertainment, today's sports, today's issues. Today on Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
This is Today 95.1 FM. To copy this tune, press 9.
This is Today 95.1 FM.
For current news and information, press 5.
They are politicians, all of them. They know what they do.
So they know how they attack each other.
To stay connected all day, press 1.
The person who raised the alarm is the one who made the public know about
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the World News on your Premium Talk Radio station.
We are your premium talk radio station. Today 95.1 FM, the station with a unique dial.
Are you in search of a place to do all your audio recordings? From jingle, documentaries, church messages, and lots more.
Are you in search of a platform to give your business maximum exposure? Look no further. Come advertise with Today FM. With our unbeatable reach, we'll give your business the boost it so dearly needs. Visit us now at number 1 Today FM Drive off East West Road, Rumekini, Port Harcourt. Whatever the business is, we'll give it a voice.
Today 95.1 FM.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ifeanyi. I'm calling you from. Hello?
Yes, Today 95.1 FM. Good morning.
My name is William. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
All right, William from Port Harcourt. Go ahead.
Talk radio.
You have a right to say no, right? All
I'm
right.
calling from Unipua.
Okay, thank you so much for me, Nagua.
We are the station that needs no introduction. Of course, you know, we give the best in news, sports,
You like football, right?
entertainment, politics. In fact, call it talk.
Yes, we know there's a lot you want to hear, and that is why we talk about everything.
Talk radio.
We're right before you. It's just a dial away. This is your number 1 premium talk radio. Today, 95.1 FM. Voice of the people.
Are you in search of a place to do all your audio recordings? From jingle, documentaries, church messages, and lots more.
Are you in search of a platform to give your business maximum exposure? Look no further. Come advertise with Today FM. With our unbeatable reach, we'll give your business the boost it so dearly needs. Visit us now at number 1 Today FM Drive off East West Road, Rumekini, Port Harcourt. Whatever the business is, we'll give it a voice.
Football.
Let's welcome you to the fun side, the sunny side, to amazing sportsmanship. Let's welcome you to a superb football competition. Introducing Today FM Under 20 Soccer Fiesta. We are looking for the best 16 teams to play off in a knockout style within 10 days till we get to our champion. Is your team under 20? Are you the best? In Port Harcourt, date 4th to 14th December 2019. Prizes are: first position, 300,000 naira. Second position, 200,000 naira. And third position, 100,000 naira. For registration details, contact Sanipe on 0806 886 1984. Again, 0806 886 1984. Or Reliance on 0806 162 8619. Again, 0806 162 8619. Or visit the premises of Today 95.1 FM at number 1 Today FM Drive off East West Road, Rumekini, Port Harcourt.
This is today's hustle. One show that embodies objectivity. We raise the bar in examining the good, the bad, the sordid, everything that has to do with society.
In America, you buy a big house and you pay gradually for 30 years of your life. That is politics. In Nigeria, you carry all your salary and go and rent one room. Bad politics.
Everything that has to do with
You
society.
must negotiate. If we don't negotiate, when a man is pushed to the wall, he bounces back with double leverage. We have been pushed to the wall.
The Hustle. Every weekday from
1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
on Today 95.1 FM.
Good afternoon again, and welcome to today's hustle, the second half of today's hustle. Well, on the first half, we were talking about elections and, the people's will, if the people's mandate was actually manifested and everything. Well, we're leaving that behind in the first half. For the second half, we're going to be talking about still elections, but we're not talking about political parties now. We're not keen about, whether the APC granted the change that the people needed or the PDP actually came with the change, but the APC, took it away from them. We don't want to talk about that for the second half. For the second half, we are going to talk about you and I as the people, the youth in Nigeria. Well, that's who we're focusing on. What are our roles when it comes to elections? All right, over the years, since 1999, we've had issues of thuggery, snatching of election, ballot boxes. We've had issues of youths constituting nuisance in their environment, especially when it's time for elections. And we're wondering why. All right, a lot of people over the years have blamed this on poverty. Some people will say it's lack of education. Others will say it is, having a naive mind, having a very gullible mind. So the government or politicians prey on that and every other thing. But then we want to ask, what exactly, precipitates this action by our youths? And why do we have tomorrow's leader? Because we are the future of tomorrow, isn't it? Why don't we have our tomorrow's leaders, constitute nuisance? Especially when it comes to a period when they're supposed to man the society, when they're supposed to take a stand for the change that they want. That's what we're looking at. We're having our major focus on the youth and how they are tools of unrest, especially during election, and who is to blame. My name is Wealth Wilson, by the way, and I am in the studios with Bolu.
Yeah. The topic of discuss is something I've thought about, over and over and over again. And I just can't seem to wrap my head, around it. First of all, I think the youths, there's this air of hopelessness, like lack of hope in the country, in the system, like the belief that there is no future for them in this country. And that's why they try to undermine our electoral processes. I mean, what reason would you have to want to perpetrate violence or try to disrupt electoral activities? It is quite sad. On the part of the youths, I do not have one single idea why they would do that.
Okay.
People have said we should blame the politicians. Because then again, it's not just the youths that
people
stand
have
up one
said
day
we should blame a lot of things.
We can blame the politicians.
We blame a lot of people except the youth. Like, people come up with excuses for the youth. People come up with excuses for these boys or girls or whoever they are that decide to, cause problems during elections, that decide to disrupt elections. People want to blame a lot of things except the youth. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Well, there's this article I saw on the net, okay, on Nigeria's youth and political thuggery. All right, by Akindayo or Molayo. All right, so I'm just going to read part of the things that he has, highlighted in this article. He says the youth of any nation is the strength of that nation, and the well-being or otherwise of a nation is largely determined by the teeming youth population. Now, in developed countries, the youth population are always leading, enterprising, and innovative ventures that have placed them in the spotlight at global scene. Now, I would read that again. In developed countries, in other words, in other countries, all right, the youth population are always leading, enterprising, and innovative ventures that have placed them in the spotlight on the global scene. In areas of technology, business, sports, and entertainment, among others, youths have always made these nations proud. All right.
Doesn't from what you just read, doesn't this then mean that the youth should be actively involved in politics in the first place? I mean, like vying for positions, being parts of the candidates and to be voted for and all that. Doesn't that mean that the youths of the country should be in these positions?
Obviously, they should be in these positions. How do you get in these positions if you are not, leadership worthy?
But the point is, in the Nigeria that we have it today, Nigerian politics as we have it today, it's not easy for the youth. Yes, I know we have the not too young to run bill and all that, and people are saying, oh, not too young to run. But then again, let's look at reality. How many youths who really love their country, patriotic, and want to go for positions have 45 million naira?
How many? Okay, while you're asking that question, let's also ask this question: how many youths in the country are willing or are lucrative and hardworking in the nation? How many of them are going out there to source for legal funds? How many of them are not sitting at home to, wait for green pastures to come knocking on their doors? How many?
That's why I said earlier on, I believe that many of the youths we have in this country do not have hope in the country and the system that we operate in. You understand? Like, they just feel like, oh, there's no hope. Nigeria no feel better.
So we blame that on what?
That's all to say.
What do we blame that on?
You mean the lack of hope? I think we'll blame it on governments of the past and our politicians and the way things are being run in the country. I mean, if you grew up in this country, it takes a strong mind to believe that Nigeria will still come out good. It takes you.
So that's why you resort to becoming a thug.
Let me just quickly state that there is no reason whatsoever. There is no reason whatsoever for you to become a thug to become a tool in the hands of politicians who want to pass the back door to win elections and all that. There is no good reason to do bad. There is no good reason to do bad, because the same way we had youths try to disrupt elections, we also had youths who stood up and say, oh no, we want to vote for the candidates of our choice. So why can't you be the youths that says, I want to do this? Why are you the youth who wants to disrupt the election, the electoral processes and all that? But then again, our politicians, they are the ones who pay these boys to do these things. They are the ones who give them the motivation. They are the ones who make sure that the boys are jobless and poor in the first place so that they can use them during elections. Because people have come up with the theory that politicians would always want the masses to be poor. Because money is a very powerful tool that you can use to retain power. Manipulate people. Because when they are poor, you can now go and say, look, I would give you 200,000 naira to go steal a ballot box and disrupt, undermine your country's election. And the youths, I mean, if you are a youth who is doing well for yourself, you have money, the country is good, economy, everything is fine, and someone's offering 200,000 naira to go steal ballots, you wouldn't want to do that. But look at the country. Look at how we have it in the country. I mean, we have thousands of jobless youths in the country, and then these politicians, I believe, they just play with that and play into their minds and try to convince them to do the wrong things.
I was actually, after reading that article, I went on to read about, the Minister of Education that actually highlighted the issue of the Nigerian educational system and how he was talking about, all the things that can be put in place to make sure that our youth are employable. They become teachable and they become employable. So tomorrow they can be very useful to the country, seeing that they're the future of the nation, isn't it? And then I start to ask myself, over the years, ministers upon ministers have come into the system, have come in to lead, and they've come out to tell us our same problems, especially in the educational sector. And they've come out to tell us different solutions, things that they will do and things that they can do and all of that. Until date, we're yet to see, changes, expected changes. As much as you hear them highlight this problem and highlight solutions on the media, on TV, on radio, and on newspapers everywhere, we haven't seen that much change. And then I thought to myself, is this like a plot by, politicians to make sure that, people are not properly informed so that they can take advantage of that? I mean, the more uninformed the people are, the easier and more gullible they are for you to use. I mean, you have the money and they don't have the, mind power, so you can actually play on their intelligence.
Yeah, I think that's the case, but more so, I also feel like the people are informed to an extent. If this was, 10, 15 years ago, I would say, yes, probably people are not informed. But people know that elections do not require violence. People know all these things about ballot snatching and you could go to jail and all that. But they still do it. That's why I have the problem. And it's the youths majorly who carry out these acts.
So basically, formal education is not one of the reasons why we find youth who...
I do not feel it's formal education. Some of these people are educated. Some of these people know what they are doing. I mean, you're going to snatch ballots. These guys come with guns, cutlasses and all that, and, shooting in the air and all that stuff. What makes them do these things? Is it the politicians? Do they really like the politicians so much? No. I think it's because of the money or whatever it is they get from the politicians. And that's why I think if we're talking about the youths and how they've, allowed themselves to be used for electoral violence in this country, I think we should also, the politicians are also one big party that should come into play in all of this. Because then again, it's not the politician himself who would go to steal the electoral, the ballots, but he would send some people. He would do it. He's doing it
he's indirectly
metaphorically. Yeah, he's doing
it,
but he won't do it himself. Do you understand? So he needs some people, and he needs people, who need the money because that's what he can offer to them to, do stuff like that. So, but I also think INEC itself should be enabled to make sure that these sort of things do not happen. It has happened too many times. I mean, how many elections have we had in this country?
What is INEC supposed to do with the youth? So is INEC supposed to come and tell them that, don't collect money from so people, or they should, how does INEC even affect the youth and their decisions?
Very good. Now, we'll take us back to the Electoral Act. I mean, these things, when they happen, should be punished adequately so that no politician would want to think of it anymore. I mean, if you do this thing, the fact that we've had electoral violence and electoral, different things that have happened, rigging and all that, not being punished adequately, it's what still makes the politicians engage in it. I mean, when last did we hear that, somebody was caught for ballots and, it was adequately punished and all that, we just hear about what happened. They stole the ballots and they went scot-free. If we had stiffer, security agents, stiffer laws, stiffer security agencies, and things that will make it very, very, very hard and, risky for you to go steal ballots, then I would say, okay, yeah, INEC is doing their own part. But then again, it's not just the INEC. Like Kalada and I, we said on the first half of the show, INEC works hand in hand with security agencies. Now, these security agencies have to make sure that these things don't happen. And the police yesterday revealed that some of these boys had more firepower than the police. And that was how they were able to do some of the things that they did in Kogi State, which is quite sad. How do the guns come into the country? That's another story.
How do they get the ownership?
Guns? How do they get these guns? It has to be the politicians who gets the guns for them. And now the funny thing is, after elections, the boys are left with no jobs. They probably spend the money and they have the guns.
Now, the problem, hold on, yeah? You just said the boys are left with no jobs, all right? So isn't it something to ponder over? I mean, you do a job that would pay you an amount of money that you could use for, say, a month, 2 months at most, or say a year. Okay, if you get really paid and everything. And then, you have to wait 4 years extra for you to, get that same job again. Isn't it something that, we should just sit down and rethink about? All right? I mean, why would you want to do something that you don't see dividends for a long time? So what I'm trying to say is, do we also narrow this to, failure in the path of the smaller units, which is the families, not being able to teach this youth certain morals, being able to teach them about certain things about dignity and all of that?
Well, yeah, because I believe that the families have a role to play, the community, society, like the first set of people that they are exposed to, which of course is the family, have huge roles to play. Also, it makes you wonder how these boys think, because then again, they give you 200,000, you spend it within how many months, and then you're back to ground zero. You have nothing. But then again, like I was saying earlier, the guns that these politicians have placed in the hands of these boys will now become an issue, because when they don't have jobs, they now resort to kidnapping, stealing, cultism, and the likes of that, and that has become a menace in our society. Do you understand? Because you give the boys guns, you give them money, you tell them to steal ballots and all that, and then you still come out to say things like, violence in so place. It should not be. I mean, it's quite ironic, the kind of electoral system we have in this country.
All right. So before we open the phone lines and start taking your calls and reading your messages, your WhatsApp messages, let me finish up with what I saw from the article written on Nigeria and political thuggery. Now, it continues. The political happenings of every society is largely dependent on the youth population of that society. It is no news that over 50% of Nigeria's population consists of people under the ages of 35. Now, these age brackets are the most active section of the population. Even though they have not had their fair share of political leadership in the country, they have also or always been very pivotal to deciding who leads the country at various levels of government. And today in Nigeria, partisan politics have become a game for the hard-hearted and brutal. Politics have become a field where violence, thuggery, and bloodshed is displayed at its peak as against ideals, competence, and humanitarianism, which are supposed to be the credible credentials for people seeking elections into public offices. Now, elections have become a do-or-die affair in Nigeria. Now, you keep wondering, a sane person who understands leadership to be called to service, how people go about seeking leadership position, the things that they do to get power, and you tend to question their rationale for craving for office. Now, democracy in Nigeria have been used to unleash a lot of things except good on the citizenry, some of which the youth are actively involved with, whether they agree. Now, this is what he says. He says that the youths have been used to, for ballot snatching, riots, intimidation, and, assassination, as the case may be, when it comes to politics and, political affairs in the country. Now, how do we stop this from happening? How do we stop political thuggery? Since it has become like a lucrative business for some youths who have started out as petty thugs in the streets and motor parks, and then some student cultists who have also been drafted out as thugs, and then they have been used in the hands of wicked politicians to carry out all manners of atrocities. How did we get to this point? How did we get to this point where we have students in school? I mean, as he stated, which of course is correct. In schools, we find a lot of students who end up being cultists, and most of these boys are used by politicians. And then it then means that education sometimes may not even be the answer. Now, you also go out to the streets where you find the uninformed, the supposed uninformed young man or woman, and then they are also manipulated. So what exactly is our problem? How do we get our youth to this point? Okay. Now, do we blame this on politicians? Do we blame this on lack of information or education? Do we blame the parents, or do we just blame the youth for being selfish, or the youth who actually wants to make quick money? A lot of people have, closed their eyes to the thoughts that these days a lot of us don't want to work. A lot of us don't want to be seen, trying to do the everyday hustle. I mean, work for a month before you get paid, or come up with a creative idea to do a business or anything. A lot of us just want quick money. So do we blame that? Or if that is the case, it then means that we can apportion this blame to the family, because it starts off from the family. If you don't train the child right, he ends up thinking that way.
Well, first of all, the first thing you said was the politicians. I would blame the politicians and the youths themselves. I wouldn't say we are uninformed in this country, because I do believe we are. We have seen the adverts. It's all over on the
majority
radio,
of the people
in the papers. Election no be war. We say it all the time. Election doesn't mean you should go out there and kill your brother. Do you understand? So I believe the people are informed to an extent. Do you understand? But it's still the youths and definitely the politicians. Desperation on the parts of the politicians. That's why I always say that these offices shouldn't have so many lucrative things, shouldn't have so many benefits, so that people don't think they need to kill somebody or snatch ballots to get there. I mean, you're going there to serve. Why are you snatching ballot boxes?
Okay, so we're going to go on a short commercial. When we come back, you'll be telling us what are the causes or what pushes the youth into becoming tools in the hands of these politicians. And do you see political thuggery ending anytime soon in Nigeria? That's what we're going to be talking about on the second half of today's hustle. Meanwhile, we're coming back after the short break. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
Bonge company for property business. Odibola.
But I got to people, I hail you now. This na the Odibola seasonal land sales AWU promo. For Odibola property, every day don't turn Christmas as we don't package 2 of our new property for just a chinkini money. Skyview layout Omagwa will be 1 million naira before. The price don't come down to 750,000 naira per plot. And Treasure View layout where they for Ikwo Iguru Tali School Road will be 800,000 naira before. Now the price now just 650,000 naira per plot. All the particulars and documents will concern the land they ready. As you pay, you dey collect. Not all yourself. Carry worker sharp enter our office for Odibola House. Nyemweli Sirim layout off Tombia Extension, GRA Phase 3 inside Port Harcourt, so that you go enjoy this better awoof promo. Call Mr. Promise for 070-30-01-73. Lisa on top 070-6264-1169. With Odibola Property, you go get peace of mind if you do business with us.
Are you looking for the best barbecue in Port Harcourt? Then you don't want to miss the pre-Christmas barbecue cookout. Get your friends and family ready to enjoy the most fantastic Nigerian and Western style comfort foods in a serene environment. Come network with mature food lovers, play fun games, and take part in exciting competitions. The pre-Christmas barbecue cookout 4th edition is brought to you by Firewood Grill. Date 14 December. Time 12 noon. Venue 98 Woji Road, GRA Port Harcourt. Ticket is 1,500 naira. Serves free food and drink to one person. 5,000 naira ticket serves free food and drinks to a table of 4. Free entry for 0 to 12 years old. Book your tickets at thefirewoodgrill.com. For more inquiries and information, please contact Leslie on 0909 076 3590. That's 0909 076 3590. The pre-Christmas barbecue cookout. Let's fire it up to 100 degrees. Miss it and miss out.
You're welcome back. We're talking about the youth and how they have been used as tools by politicians during elections. We're talking about how we got to this point, who is to blame, and then do you see political thuggery ending anytime soon in Nigeria, especially when it comes to election period. All right, so the phone lines are officially open. The numbers you can call or send your WhatsApp message to will be 0817-00000951.
Or you can try 0810-9510-951. You can send your WhatsApp messages to 0701 9339962.
Now, let us know what you think, especially when it comes to the youth. Now, Bolo and I have been talking about, politicians whose sole purpose on this earth is to probably manipulate the minds of these young people. But then I think that if the people are properly informed, it will be very difficult for these politicians to, cajole you into doing things for just meager amounts. But then I don't know.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Today 95.1
Mike, I'm calling from Mosoba.
Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Mark, not
Mark. You're welcome,
yeah,
Mark.
you're welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, we have to blame the politicians.
Just the politicians?
Yes, the politicians. They are the people who empower these youths with ammunition or guns to perpetrate this evil. And after, it's like you give monkey water with cup. If you giving him water is not the issue, but how to collect the cup back is the issue. Now, they give these youth, empower them by those things, and they give them some small money, maybe 200,000. Before 2 months, they have finished the money. They will tell them, I've empowered you. Empowerment means that gone. They will start kidnapping and all these things. I blame them at least 99.5%. Then I go to the family again. I blame them again, the remaining 0.5%. But in your question that if this political thuggery will end in Nigeria, yes, if our politicians again will agree to pass this bill of electronic voting, because it's the same politicians that are benefiting from this thuggery, not me. Is it me? It's not me and my children. It's not you there that is working in your place. It is the same them. But for them to pass this bill to make it speedy, so that before 2023, that bill will have been passed.
Okay.
Do electronic voting.
All right.
Not. You will see they will sit on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Hello. Good afternoon. 95.1 FM.
Afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Your name and where you're calling from?
Osiganku. Osiganku from Port Harcourt.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Let me tell you, I don't blame any politicians. I blame those who allow themselves to be used.
That's the youth.
Yes. Because somebody like me, whether I'm working or I'm not working, you can't ask me to go and kill because of your position you are violent. So I blame people who accepted the offer, because when they offer, you refuse. You can't carry that car, maybe crime, or won't hear anything crime in river or in Nigeria. I don't blame politicians for anything. I blame we who are supporters, because the people we are fighting for, they know where to meet their church, they know where to enjoy. But they will be on the street shouting, "This is my mind. That one is my enemy."
Okay.
But they will go to their bank and have their life to live.
Okay.
So I blame the youth. Youth should stop maybe killing their fellow human beings because of position. Understand? So if 2 or 3 people refuse, politician will not force you to do it.
Okay.
Understand?
Yeah.
No matter how amount of money they offer to you, when you refuse them, they will not force you to say you must do it.
Yeah.
It's because you allow yourself to be used.
All right, thank you very much.
What they call saying.
Okay.
It's when you allow yourself to be Satan to control, you commit sin.
Okay.
Understand?
All right.
That is what we are seeing in Nigeria.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello?
95.1 FM. Good afternoon.
Yes. Good afternoon to all of you in the studio.
Good afternoon. Your name and where you're calling from?
Okwando Obinna is my name.
You're welcome, Akwando.
Yes, thank you. You see, I don't want to blame politicians. I am not blaming INEC. Neither am I blaming police.
So who are you blaming?
INEC, politicians, police, all of them are Nigerians. So I am blaming all of us. I want to ask, since 1999, we have been having electoral violence everywhere. How many people are in prison because of electoral malpractice or electoral violence? Nobody. The judiciary, I am blaming everybody in this country. Is responsible. The media, I am blaming everybody.
Okay.
If we want our nation, Nigeria, to work for all of us, we should all join hands and do the right thing. But we find a situation that nobody, no Nigerian, the police, the judiciary, everybody is doing the wrong thing. So that is why the politicians are taking advantages of all these things to perpetrate evil in the elections. So we cannot continue to blame only politicians and the police and this one.
Okay.
No, all of us are involved.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you too. He made a valid point talking about blaming everybody, and then he also talked about not having anybody, go down or face the arm of the law for this particular issue. I mean, how many times have we had these thugs complain about, make statements about which politician is responsible or sponsoring this particular movement or act?
The fact that politicians have been doing this thing since 1999 up until now means it has been working for them and there have been no repercussions. And that's why they keep on doing it.
Okay.
And that's where I think we're getting it wrong.
All right. We lost that one. Do well to call us back. The numbers are still, the phone lines are still open. 0817 0000 951 0810 9510 951. And you can send your WhatsApp messages to 0701 9339962. Who is to blame? The youths have been used over the years since Nigeria gained independence. The youths have been used as tools in the hands of these politicians. Do we blame the families for not rightly training these children or bringing them up? Do we blame the youth who does not want to work? Do we blame it on ignorance, on education?
Even the judiciary, like Obina said. Okwando Obina was talking about the judiciary, and I was like, yes, I gave him a thumbs up right here in the studio.
But what exactly can we do in the country to, avert political thuggery? Because that has been an issue for a long time, and until we think about things that we can do to, change this narrative, it then means that politics will be playing on the way it is currently in the country. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Seda from Oyo.
Okay. All right. Please turn down the volume of your radio. Thank you.
All right. You see, the truth of the matter is that both the families and the youth themselves are to blame. For example, some people are good in having children, but they don't give them good moral upbringing at all. And some of these children, they grow up, they become nuisance to the society. They become a terror even to their own family, and they become so powerful more than their family, so they lost control. So that's the major problem. And, there is no time on earth in this Nigeria that will not have miscreants. Just go to Niger Bet this thing now. Virtually all the Niger Bet this thing, you see you to there. Now, boys are not ready to work. They want to make hot money. Let me tell you, my sister, my brother in the studio. You see, I have a friend of mine that worked with me. About 1994, I was very young then. We worked together. This boy, I know him well. I was shocked last year when doing this Omagege saga. Man, I watched on picture. I saw this guy. What? I lost his contact. I had to call somebody from that area who know him very well. Say, now, can you tell me the number of this person? And I discovered he was the person actually. Now, what am I trying to say? Right from that time, that guy always exhibited that kind of character. Even when on the field of work, the guy always look at this done. You know, so he was always making himself available. Check since far back 1993, 94. This is not a complete man. Somebody heading to 50 years now. Yes, he's still exhibiting that character. You know? So that is the attitude of our country. It is difficult to eradicate hooliganism in this country. These boys that is why they always make themselves available for politicians to use them, and politicians will always see them. And the secondly, or lastly, another problem we're having is judiciary. Each time these guys are being caught on one social basis or the other and are brought to the judiciary system. Instead of people to sentence them, before you know it, there will be adjournment, and their political godfather will come and rescue them. So let me tell you, my sister, lastly, are you aware that some group of guys, about having of them were caught during this last election in Akwa State? These guys, about 20 buses loaded with boys from Edo State. Ask yourself, where are those boys? These guys were caught and they were arrested. 20 buses. Youth boys. All of them are free. Some of them are out of the country and some of them are bubbling. They are still making themselves available.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Politicians and the judiciary are to be blamed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Right, thank you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon. My name is Wealth.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is
Hello?
Wealth. I can hear you.
Hello.
All right. Do well to call us back. The phone lines are still open. 0817 0000 951 0810 951 9510 951. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, West.
Yes, good afternoon.
This is DS Lieutenant on the line.
You're welcome. Good afternoon.
I think the youth are not serious to get out of the situation. If you look at pre-independence day, the Nigerian youth put upon themselves to ensure that they confront the authorities that are suppressing them. We have identified that Nigerian politicians are not treating the youth well. So what do we do? If you observe the election of Kogi and Bayelsa, you discover that almost 70% of those who participated in the election were youth. Those who delivered the both candidates were youth. And yet, they don't sit down and bargain for the welfare of the youth before they embark on any journey. So they need to sit down, discuss how to confront with these oppressors and take over the government from them. We need to take over government from them because we are the youth are the deciding factor in this nation.
But how do you want to do that when we don't have enough people who are willing to, put in that much effort, and they do not even lead by example? I mean, we see that majority of the youth are into one form of gangsterism or the other.
Now, what will happen? You know that even with the style of that gangsterism style, they can take over government from them. Are you getting it? But what they are misapplying it. They just need money now. You need to be hungry today and get food tomorrow. So that is what they are dodging. Are you getting it?
Okay.
They just want to get something now. But when you get something now, you are mortgaging your future. So the youth need to sit down and have a routine on how to take. We need to take over the seat of power from these people. These people, that's what we need.
All right, how we want to do that, I don't know, but hopefully we do. 95.1 FM, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. ID.
Oh, you're welcome, ID.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ID. You're welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
Just go straight. The judiciary and the politicians are to be blamed.
The judiciary and the politicians?
There is a violence in election. And you brought your application before the judiciary, in fact, before the tribunal. Yes, the judge will tell you that you've not proven without reasonable doubt. I don't know whether we will go and arrest or ask those persons to bring them before the judges for them to fight the day of the election before the judges will know that they are proven to be not reasonable doubt.
Hello, ID. We're struggling to make out what you're saying. Please, can you
try to call us back?
All right, please call us back. We're struggling to make out what you were, saying. But the phone lines are still open, okay? Call us right up. Everybody has been pointing fingers to the judiciary. A lot of people have also been fingering the politicians as well. But then, okay, let me take this call before we, get into our own conversation. 95.1 FM.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Ruben is Junior.
You're welcome, Ruben.
Yes, I think a lot of persons have made useful contribution, but to my own opinion, I think this is a collective problem in our society. It is a problem that the government is involved, the problem the youth are involved, the problem where the INEC, being an institution of the government, is also involved. I see a situation where there are laws in this country, but they don't function. They have severally made mention of election violators to face the full wrath of the law. There are always persons that are arrested during elections, but none has been tried. And when you have laws and they are not functioning, people don't take them as laws. If there have been persons who have been arrested, tried, and prosecuted, I guess it will serve as deterrence to election violators. But to the best of my knowledge, 2015 to 2019 to supplementary elections, we have not heard of anybody. The previous caller made mentions of how many buses we heard that youths were being piled going to Akwa Ibom for an election from Edo State. They were arrested, evidence were there. We saw it in the public domain. After then till now, no trial, no nothing. So you don't expect that when there are laws and they don't function, you will not be hearing much of the election violations and all the rest. So I think in this case, the government has to do a lot. They are the major persons benefiting from this election violation. That is why they don't allow the laws to hold. You just imagine what happened in Kodi. I saw on channel television, youths, armed men come to a polling unit, shooting sporadically and take election materials off. And at the end of it, you still hear results announced from that same polling unit. What do you think? We are not fooling ourselves. It is a collective thing. I think those who they made mention of in the case of bribery, that the person who is giving and the person who is taking must face the punishment. I think until this same thing is applied in our election rules, I think we will continue to experience election violation. Thank you. I remain Ruben.
All right. Thank you very much, Ruben. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello, Walt.
Yes. Good afternoon.
This is the ID.
Okay. Thank you for calling back.
Yes. You see, I said this situation ought to be blamed. The people ought to be blamed is the judiciary and the politicians. Because they work pari passu. In a situation where you file an application before the electoral tribunal, and the judge will wake up to tell you that you've not proven a case of violence beyond reasonable doubt before the judge. I don't know whether he wants the lawyer to go and bring those rascals to stand before them and fight the way they fight when they were plastic ballot boxes. Before they will know that the lawyer has proven beyond reasonable doubt. Even when you tender the Photoshop and video clips on how these things were perpetrated, yet the judge will still tell you you've not proven your allegations beyond reasonable doubt. So this thing, I found out that the politicians.
Are you there, ID? All right, yet again, the network looks for a way to dislodge our conversation. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Chris. I'm calling from Port Harcourt.
You're welcome, Chris.
Yeah. On the side of election and who is to blame, to me, I will blame politicians. Let me give you my fact and the finding. Just like the last caller. Do you notice what happened between Mr. President and Atiku Abubakar case? So if you're like this case being judged in the country, do you need to wait for judiciary or tribunal to try your case when you lose an election? You need to do everything. Make sure you win your election. Kill as many as you like.
Is that supposed to be sarcastic, though?
No, I'm not being sarcastic. It's a reality now. Okay, let me ask you something. You people send delegates and the news journalists that went on that Bayelsa. I follow your station up that very day. They were reporting what is happening live. Why all those reports? Why did you people hide it? If something happened, I always say this thing. Media